Hi, everybody. Thanks for showing up today for Authentic Living with Dawn Janice. I have a very special friend and guest here today who has an incredible story and journey to share with you. Her name is Alex Kuisis. She's an author. She's an organizer, which I'm so excited to hear more about because I'm into that. Um, and she's a quality of life coach. And I can't wait for you to hear how she teaches quality of life. She helps women in seasons of personal evolution. She helps us create healthy, empowering habits for our body and for our mind and for our spirit, which is very important, so that the emerging version of our life has a sturdy foundation. That is so important. And that foundation is made of confidence, ease, and grace. So here's Alex, my friend. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here, Dawn.
So great to have you here. A long-awaited interview. And I want to talk to you, first of all, about your amazing best-selling book, Truth Matters, Love Wins by Alexandra Kuisis. Everybody sees what it looks like, so jump on Amazon and order it right now. I'm telling you, it is like impactful.
Thank you.
So let's talk about this beautiful book. First of all, why did you write it?
Well, I wrote this book. It's a memoir of a particular situation that happened to me, a legal situation. It says right there on the cover of the book, a memoir of choosing faith over fear in the face of false accusations. And if I remember correctly.
You got it. I'm reading it.
Okay.
That's exactly what it says. Yeah.
And I wrote the book for a few reasons. One is that I just have an innate, a very strong sense of what's fair and what's just. That's always been a North Star for me. I think in a different life, I would have made a really good judge. And it didn't seem fair or just to me that only one side of the story was out in the public eye. And so I wrote the book so there would be a balanced account, so that if somebody were interested or, happened upon my name kind of thing, they would see my accusers, the news stories about when this broke, that were in the news, that are online forever, as well as, oh, look at that, she wrote a book telling her story. Let's see what the whole thing's all about. So it was partially out of a sense of what felt fair and just. It partially also stemmed from the fact that I think we have voices so that we can use them. And this was, at the end of it, my lawyer had said to me, don't you just want to walk away from this? Like, it's over. Just go live your life. And to me, that felt like missing such a huge piece of the telling my story, for the reasons of it being fair, but also for the reasons of my own. No, I'm not ashamed of this. This is something that I was accused of erroneously. I used to teach first grade, and I had a sign in my classroom that said, if somebody calls you a kangaroo, does that make you a kangaroo?
Mm.
No, of course not. Well, if somebody calls you stupid, does that make you stupid? Well, no, of course not. Okay, all right, kind of idea. And it was that just because someone's accusing me of something does not mean, like, I don't, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to, right? That whole idea. And just wanting to say, this is what this person, this accuser thinks of me. Here, let me show you who I am. This is what the other side. So using my voice to drown out any sense of shame around, what I'd been dealing with. And then also I have a fundamental belief that we are here on earth to help one another.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, to help one another learn what it's like to be human. Mm-hmm. We are not going to be able to experience, right, living in every place in this country, in every socioeconomic class of this country, in every type of skin color in this country, in this world, I should say, not even just country, worldwide. And so when we share our stories, it helps other people see, oh, look, that happens to a human being too. Oh, look, that's just a part of being human. Oh, wow, that happened to you and you dealt with it that way. Interesting. Like it's like my Instagram tagline says something to the effect of, here's my version. Here's one person's version of healing, of happiness, of home. Like it's just a version. It's a way that you can be in the world. And has taken me a really long time to own the way I am in the world. I look much more commonplace than I feel sometimes. And it being able to be who I am and not who I look like I might be has been a learning curve for me. Yeah. And writing this book helped me own, here's who I am, here's how I move through the world. And there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that. You're your unique self.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little background of how I know you, if I may.
Of course.
I went to a retreat last fall in Chicago, and the Thought Leader Academy, Women Starting Movements, this amazing group of powerful women. And Alex was at the front of the room facilitating. She's an amazing facilitator. I'm not surprised that you're an organizer at all because you're so good at efficiency. I was watching you so carefully and so impressed with you. This beautiful blonde, gorgeous, sweet, beautiful female running around with the microphone, making sure everybody got their say, making sure things were done correctly. And that's what she was entrusted to do by Sarah Cannell, who's an amazing leader as well. And it was just, I was impressed by you. And then after I joined the community, Alex facilitates our group meetings. She facilitated everything. She welcomed me in, and I instantly loved her and trusted her. And the energy that I got from you, Alex, was, I've told you this recently, is the epitome of kindness. And I trust you. Loving energy that just emits from you. Your way of going through that accusation is so strong and brave, but the whole concept of living authentically and knowing who you are intrinsically and taking care of who you are in the best way that yourself needs is what your whole concept is about. And it's just obviously fits in with authentic living so much. So could you get a little bit deeper into what we're talking about, because we're being a little ambiguous about the book. So if you could tell a little bit of your story, I'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So the book is, again, so it's a memoir about a certain period of time in my life. On September 1st of 2016, the police showed up at my door and arrested me for 7 felony counts. Of basically the gist was sexually mishandling a child that I was in a position of trust with. And I mean, where to even go with that? As soon as I heard that, my head exploded and my heart dropped, because it was just a flat out lie. It wasn't true in any way, shape, or form. The only thing that was true was that the story had happened to me as a little girl. So I had been sexually mishandled repeatedly by a female babysitter. And I never breathed a word of it to anybody, even my parents, until I was a grown-up. But I remembered it the whole time. And I talked about it in therapy, and I mentioned it to my sister and best friends, but it was still a story I kept in a tight circle. And then one of my best friends asked me in 2010 if I would share that story with her children, who I was also very close with. I'd helped raise these kids. And at the time, the kids were, I want to say 9 and 10, 8 and 10, right in there. And I had to think long and hard about it, because it wasn't, again, something that I just shared at will. And I was like, ooh, and with children, I don't know. My own parents don't even know yet. But in the end, I did share it because I had a shared goal of keeping the kids safe. And so I told the kids what happened to me. I reiterated that they had people, if anything like that ever happened to them, even one time, they could talk to their parents, their grandparents, their teachers, me, their, naming people by name, because I was that ingrained in their life. And they promised, okay, yes, I will. I definitely will. And then I told my best friend, okay, that's sorted. I talked to them. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. The friendship fizzled in 2013. Again, I talk about this all in the book, the history of knowing how I met them, knowing them, the way the friendship developed. And then in 2016, as I mentioned, I then got arrested for being the babysitter in the story. And my former best friend, the mother of these girls, claimed she didn't know. She said she had forgotten that or didn't know that, never, either way, it doesn't paint her in a great light. Either she completely forgot something one of her best friends entrusted her with, like a heavy childhood story like that. Or she remembered and chose not to fold it into the conversation she had with her daughter, who then later held up the accusation. The sister did remember. The sister said, wait a minute, wasn't that Alex's story? And they went, huh. And the accuser said, yeah, no, I do kind of remember that. And the mom said, I don't know what you're talking about. And the prosecution said, that means she's all the more likely to repeat the cycle.
Oh, just a horrific position to be in.
Yes, they just wanted the win. And so I mean, everything in my life changed. And I spent 2 years in this legal battle, clinging to the mantra, truth matters and love wins. I had a private Facebook group for people that were like wanting, from around my friends, not just people, but like people I knew, wanting to stay abreast of the situation, wanting to figure out how they could help, wanting to know what the updates were. Because it's a very isolating kind of situation. Like people want to be there for you, but anytime you want to just call and like shoot the breeze with somebody, it's, hi, what is there a development? I dropped everything. What's going on? And it's like, oh, no. So you stop calling people because you don't want, I'll let you know through the Facebook group when there's something happening. But as for like day-to-day friendships, like it's sort of, people don't know what to say, and I don't blame them for that. That's just the landscape of that time. Yeah. And so I prepared for a trial. I turned down plea deals along the way because I just had to, I had to do what I knew was right. Like you have to. My mom gave me some really excellent advice. As I mentioned, I had plea deals that they just over and over. Well, what about this? Well, what about that? But all of them included an underlying basis of admittance of guilt. It'd be like an unspoken thing, but it's going to be it's going to be there. And I was like, that's my stopping point right there. I will not at all. They wanted me to do therapy. They wanted me to do like all these things and take like lie detectors to prove that I understood what I did was wrong. And I was like, how do you sit down to a lie detector knowing you have to lie?
Yeah.
It was, again, broken system. But so I held my ground. I kept my truth matters, love wins from the very start. And then the advice my mom gave me, this is it. So they were calling me in for plea deals and this and that. And I kept saying, no, no, no. And my lawyers were sort of not scaring me like that I was afraid of them, but like, they were like, you got to take this. That we've never seen anything like this. This is incredible. Like making it seem like, what a win to get a plea deal like this. They never offer this kind of thing. In just 5 years, it'll be off your record. You could petition to be removed from the sex offender list. Oh, and I was like, why is this a prize? Why are you acting like this is something I'm supposed to get excited about? I was just carte blanche, and oh, but you're gonna, because the thing is, I'd have gone to prison for the rest of my life. That was what was on the other side of, if you are found guilty of this, what you'll do is spend your life in prison. And so that's what I was like, stand your ground and hope for the best, or take this like amazing plea deal so that you don't go to prison.
Alex, most people would believe their attorneys.
Yeah.
Think that they had to. And
Yeah.
you didn't.
No. Over and over. I mean, in fact, even at one point I got mad at my lawyer and I was like, look, I'm working. I don't have time. She's like, you got to come into our office. You got to come into the office. I said, I don't have time to be chasing your idea of a good time, as it were, with plea deals. I don't want them. And I understand that it was part of his job to relay them to me. Like, he certainly couldn't just decline on my behalf. So every time one came across, it ultimately was my, choice. And so obviously he was going to keep telling me about them. But yeah, there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure to take multiple, many times. And at one point I said, no, thank you. Well, no, you have to go home and talk to your husband. We're not going to let you make the decision until you go home. Fine. Go home. And I talk to my husband and I call him or email him, talk to him. No, thank you. Oh, no, tomorrow morning. They've given us till tomorrow morning. You just think about it overnight. Call my sister, call my mom, talk to them about it. And my mom said to me, honey, you need to do the thing that allows, I'm going to choke up. You need to do the thing that allows you to look yourself in the eye for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. If you can stand in a mirror in good conscience and say, I do not, I did not do this. I do not deserve that. I won't accept it. And a jury finds you guilty. I mean, I was prepared for that. Jury finds me guilty. I stood in the light of what I know is right. Because it's not, it's that saying, it's not between me and them anyway. It's between me and God, or between me and source, or between me and what I came from and will go back to. And that's my sense of integrity right there. It's my faith. And those things revolve around truth and love, and kindness. And the being able to look myself in the eye was like the deciding factor. If I take a plea deal, I cannot look myself in the eye. Mm. So it was not only does it feel right and good and true to stick by my word, it also feels like ugly and dark and heavy and like shameful to accept something, a punishment, if for a thing I didn't do. Like, that's not right. That's not just. I can't abide it. I can't abide by it. And so I didn't. And that's it's so cut and dry to me. And it was from the very beginning.
Obviously, you knew you were innocent.
Yeah.
In fact, you were the victim, and it was your story
that's what
hadn't gotten out there, except for a few people who used it against you.
Yep. And that's what I had said, try to explain that to my lawyer, and he had to make some mental leaps to get there. But ultimately, he was great. He did a fabulous job. I would hire him again in a heartbeat if I had to. That said, it took, like I said, he had to make some jumps. But I said, if I take a plea deal, it's like taking a punishment because I was abused as a child. And that to me, there's no world in which that makes sense.
That's not justice. And you were on trial for justice. Mm-hmm. That's not justice.
And when they dismissed in the interest of justice. That was the reasoning they gave.
Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Thank God. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that hell to get to justice. But what have you done with that? I know what you're doing with it, but I would love for you to talk about what you're doing about it and how you
Ab-
teach others to deal with
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Happy to. Well, so like obviously the first thing I wanted to do was write this book.
Yeah.
Um, I took a year, I laugh in retrospect that I said, I'm going to take a year to heal. Right. I put a timeline on
Yeah, you can't do that.
it. Yeah. I am take 1 year. Um, and that was what, 4 years ago. And I'm still, it's still obviously going to be something that just comes and goes probably forever. Um, but I had been getting my coaching certification. So I have my background's in education. I'm a teacher. I've worked in school administration. I've done event planning. I've run nonprofit galas and fundraisers. Um, a little busy bee. I like having my hands in lots of different little things. I like, bringing myself to a project. I don't know exactly how to market that. I'm still figuring that part out. But I was getting my coaching certification at the same time that I was doing this event planning and helping with all these fundraisers and everything, because it was a natural transition. I'm a teacher at heart, right? Like my nature is such, and I'm an organizer. Like that's since childhood. It's a whole chapter about it in the book. But I've just always had that sensibility. I like putting things in their places. I like knowing where stuff is. And same difference with how I said I take care of my sleep and my movement and my nutrition when all this, shit hit the fan. The space around me became very important, because I know that the very real correlation between a cluttered surrounding and cluttered thoughts,
Yeah.
or cluttered, like trying to figure out a schedule of sorts while trying to dig through a pile of laundry or whatever the case, it doesn't help you.
Yeah.
And so I knew having my place in order, as it were, simplifying, having less to tend to deal with. I mean, it's like when you get a health scare, right? Like everything else becomes irrelevant. It is so, the string lights around the whatever, the way it so doesn't matter. Like just get the fluff out of here, get the clutter out of here. So I had an organizing business for years and years and years. It was called Alex Organize. And I would go into people's homes and offices and organize their stuff. And then I expanded it to be Alex Organize Home and Events. I'll come organize your home, or I'll organize your event, your nonprofit, your whatever. And was just loving that. And I was sitting on the board for certain different preschools. I had a Montessori background. I worked at Montessori schools. So I was kind of in that community. A lot of fun little happening all around me when this legal thing landed in my lap. And so everything kind of went kaboom. I was, excused from all these boards. I lost all these nonprofit contracts, whatever. The collateral damage. But I still had this coaching certification, and it clicked in. I was still going through the process. And so it clicked in my head that when I get out of this, my professional life is going to be completely different. I will not be waltzing back into preschools, regardless, because again, it's like a watermark.
Mm.
Like, even though you look up and it says, oh, look, she was dismissed, there was still the accusation. And no, people aren't going to get into the depth of like, oh, no crap, it was your story first. They're just going to take it at face value. Anyway, I knew things had to be different. And so I leaned in to the coaching, and I had gone into it just with the pure health aspect in mind. But then what I learned through my situation was health is but a part. Like it's an important part, but it's not the only part. And if your health isn't perfect, it doesn't mean all is lost.
Right.
That's the other aspect of it. And so I know in part, as I mentioned, there were aspects of who I am and how I show up in the world that helped me through this. I had socioeconomic status, if you will. I had resources of financial and support, all kinds of things like that. I acknowledge that it wasn't just like my vision, my visioning that pulled me through, but that part was also necessary. And I was really able to distill what are the things, like the fundamental pieces, the things you touch every single day, that if life is going to blindside you and throw a bomb into your daily, what do you want to have in place?
Mm.
What's going to help you not snap like a sapling in the wind? Like what's going to give you the sturdy foundation to just sway, go with the flow, whatever happens, and know that if you're rooted in your values, whatever that is, maybe it's truth matters, love wins, maybe it's not, but whatever your values are, if you're rooted in them and you live from a place of them, you walk that line and it will see you through.
So true.
Yes.
True. As you know, I've been through my own big, huge windstorm in my life as well. And it's our journeys are not the same. They are parallel. Whereas I got my health coaching certification, I was well on my way to establishing a great business and building the foundation for that. And I was really focusing on health as my business model because I'm a huge nutrition geek.
Mm-hmm.
But the life coaching is a part of health coaching. If you're all listening out there, you're looking for a health coach, they're also going to be helping you get components of your life, which Alex is going to tell you about in just a minute, that will give you that strong foundation, because it's so much more than the food. It's so much more than the exercise. It's so much more than your body weight. It is everything in your life that you need to stabilize your foundation and become you authentically and know who you are, so that you can withstand the high winds. And that
right.
I am grateful for that foundation, or I may not be here today, because big things like what you went through and mine is the death of a child, can break you.
Yes.
It can break you. And so, Alex, your mission is to help people stay solid in that foundation of who they are authentically. So
Yes.
tell me more about your coaching business and some of the pillars.
Happy to. It's called, my practice is called Soul Fitness. And so it's that idea that, again, you're taking care of your soul at a soul level. And that's, some people say that's like the breath, taking care of yourself at the level of just breathing. The breath is such a powerful tool because it's free. It's always with us and we can train it. It's something that we do without thinking about, but when we bring mindfulness or intention to it, it can change everything. And so soul fitness, the idea of just breathing, can help you solidify a foundation. And then it grows from that. You breathe, obviously, every day, every moment of every day. And so look, what else do you do every day? You eat every day. You sleep every day. You move in some capacity every day. To connect every day, whether that's with your own self, your sense of source energy, God, spirit, universe, and the people around you, family members, colleagues, friends, strangers. You have, the opportunity every day to connect. And then you are in your, I'd say home every day, but you're in some space that maybe your office, maybe your car, whatever it is, but you spend time in a physical location day in and day out. And so soul fitness coaching is about bringing in intentionality and beautifying whatever that means to you. It's not a top down kind of designation. It's an inside out sort of thing. All of those areas, the daily habits that you have in all of those areas. And when I talk about movement, I'm not talking about like jazzercise or 6 a.m. aerobics, although those fold into your idea of a good time. Perfect. Do it. It's more like, what are you doing on an hourly basis? I say to my clients, let's see what changes if we aim for like a monthly strength train goal So over the course of a month, let's work our muscles X amount of times or in certain ways. And in a week, let's try a yoga class once a week in a yoga class. Daily, let's try just some stretching. Let's set some alarms. And so what happens when you are daily actually taking the time to step back from the computer and, stretching your fingers out and rolling your wrists and doing this with your shoulders, circles and your neck and your ankles. And it doesn't, again, have to be like, okay, off to the gym for 4 hours. It literally is, how are you moving? Same thing with food. I'm not giving anyone a meal plan. I'm not, saying like you need to have 7 grams of fat with each 30 grams. There are people who can help you with that. And that is a great way to gather data about yourself. But daily, forever, you just want to be figuring out how you are fueled. What kind of things fuel you? What makes you feel good? I mentioned, I don't eat gluten. When I eat gluten, I don't feel good. It does not serve me. So making those connections and then honoring them, etc. And it goes down the list. Like there are daily habits you can shore up in all of those areas that just create a foundation of how you are then able to bounce from that, a strong foundation to, again, these these seasons of evolution, whether they're chosen or like by chance, is what I say, when they just land in your lap. It was just by chance that I befriended the mean people kind of thing.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know. Things come into our lives, people come into our lives,
Right.
and we don't know. Things change, people change, and things happen.
Yeah.
If you when we have a solid foundation, it happens too.
Mm-hmm.
It just does.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It does not having a solid foundation in these areas will not preclude you from having a crap fest in your life. Like they're completely separate things. It's just living a life, right? Good things happen and bad things happen. It's the Frederick Buckner quote that says, "Here's the world. Beautiful things will happen and terrible things will happen. Do not be afraid."
Period.
Like it's just life will throw you a curveball. That is a promise, you know. And we have a choice in how we handle it. And it's like, when the pandemic hit, when everyone was like, go home, lock down, stay home, like right when it all hit, I kept saying to my channels and my clients, I said, this is what we've trained for. We've been talking about self-care, about shoring up, taking care of ourselves and the space around us so we feel healthy, we feel safe, we're able to move with ease, have confidence in our thoughts and grace in our words. And here we are being handed a collective curveball. And so I just kept saying, I trust that you know how to keep yourself safe and happy. Like I believe in you. Because that's what we've been doing here. That's what this community is about. This soul fitness is. So here we go. It's time to, walk the talk.
It's like you don't even know you're preparing for a battle.
Mm-hmm. Right. And here's what, if you knew you were preparing for a battle, like once a battle appears in the distance, you go into a different state. It's a state of like, everything else falls away. I've got tunnel vision. This is all that's important. I can't think about what's for dinner. Like I need to. And that's why it's almost, you do it. And if a battle doesn't show up, it's not hurting you to do it, to be building the foundation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if you try and start building a foundation while the ship is sinking, it's trickier to do. It's trickier to do.
And like you said, you're in that state of the sympathetic nervous system where
Yes.
you're unable to really get good nutrition into your body or take care of yourself because you're in the fight or flight mode.
Yes. And one of the things that, I talk about how I had a legal battle in the physical world while I was simultaneously fighting like a spiritual battle in the spiritual world. And so there are two different journeys that I was on at the same time. And my spiritual advisor, one of her directives to me was every night before court, excuse me, you need to do a meditation. And she sent me candles that she had prayed over. And she said, you burn this candle and you meditate until it has to go out on its own. And it'll go out on its own when it goes all the way. It took 2 hours for that candle to burn down to its own whatnot. And I had different readings, verses, prayers, all kinds of things that she had me reciting 11 times and copy this with red ink. I mean, I had all kinds of, and I was like, okay, whatever. And so I meditated these 2 hours. My trial was about 2 weeks long. And every night of that, I would retire to my office and spend 2 hours with the candle and the readings. And then I would do a moving meditation in the form of a yoga practice. And I, da, 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 da. And I think it was a saving grace. To me, it was like a directive, right? I'd been given it as an instruction. So I was just following orders, just like I followed my lawyer's orders. So to me, it was all under the same umbrella of I've hired people to guide me. And therefore I'm going to do what they say because I'm trusting in their wisdom and their experience and their expertise. And I looked at my lawyer the same way I looked at my spiritual advisor. Those were they were partners without knowing each other. But I did it, and it was the pause. It was a forced pause in every day in those days. And I would wake up in the morning and I would be clear, and I would be able to, again, just present, because that's what it is. You're on, everyone's watching you at every moment. You walk into that courtroom and you sit down at that defense table and you are just like, it is a show. And having that piece, having that meditation piece, that pause, was necessary. I think back at different times in my life where it's been like, how do I get through these next couple of weeks? This is crazy. I'm gonna have to give something up, and looking at it and saying, well, it can't be the workout because that's going to give me the strength. It can't be the meal prep because that's going to give me it's just really getting those priorities straight. Like, what helps you through those tumbly times? And once you can connect to that, it's all in service of your own self, right? It's an honor of your own self. They're acts of self-love.
Oh, beautiful. I got so much out of that last section of what you were talking about. First of all, the spiritual practice. It's that pause, you called it, which I think is so exactly right. It's that pause of like releasing identity and what's happening in the minute and what happened a minute ago. It's like allowing a connection with your spiritual self. That part of you, that higher self, God, that spiritual self.
Yes.
That connection then gives you those downloads that you need, the calm, the space, and the strength. And I really believe that it sounds like you allowed them in to come to battle with you, to show up with you when you were in court, because you were on display.
Yes. Oh, 100%. I had my prayer bag. I had all my crystal, everything tucked in my bra and my pockets and my shoe. I went into it as though it were a spiritual battle, right? With my like metaphorical, armor on.
Beautiful. So it's in the process of going through these hard times and then learning from that, but then it's also in the healing. The time you said you gave yourself a year, and then you kind of laughed because we know it's an ongoing process. We're always learning and healing and growing, that we learn what's sustainable for us. And these practices that you're talking about, not giving up the food prep, not giving up the yoga practice, not giving up that meditation time, making sure that those things are important. Number one, they're a priority in your life. You know that that's going to keep you healthy, and you'll be able to sustain that. And if it's just, weight training once a month or whatever that looks like, if it's sustainable for you, then you keep going with it, and it's easy to do because it is in the flow.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Awesome. So you, those are some of the founding principles of your practice. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's, I guess you mentioned at the start, I work with people in seasons. I call it seasons of personal evolution. And that can mean so many different things. I work with a lot of women who are writing books, right? Thought leaders who want to create a new life for them and others. They're looking to change the way the world acts, thinks, believes, even about something. And so but it can also be, I'm entering this season of a new job, or my kids have all left the nest, or I moved to a new place, or I'm joining a leadership academy, or I mean, it could be anything. When things are changing, because it can be nice to have a buddy, as it were, like a somebody on your side to say, what you're doing is going to require work. It's going to require work on your part. And so having someone in, the proverbial trenches with you to hold the vision and believe in it while you're doing it's tricky. It's hard work to hold up a big grand vision and get down in the, dirt to do the work to build it up to where the vision is. So what a coach helps you do is keep that vision uplifted and keep you pointing toward it. Because as we talk about, motivation comes and goes, right? We can't count on motivation. We want, though, to be pointed in the right direction. We want our trajectory to be such that when motivation finds us again, because it does, if it goes, that means it's coming back. It'll catapult us in the right direction. And so what I help people do is just get poised. Again, build those daily habits so that you are facing the life you want to live. One of the taglines that I use is, let's design a life you love. Because I do think it's, no matter what size house you live in, or what kind of job you have, or how many kids you do or don't have, or how many years you've been married or not, none of that is foundational to your happiness.
Right.
That's all. Those are all choices you make, to make a life that you love. But it's easier to figure out what that all is when you have you sorted.
Oh, I love that. That is like a mic drop moment right there. Get you sorted out.
Yeah.
Because, I've recently taken a break because I burnt out, and it's easy to it's not easy. Sometimes it's hard to get back on track again. And when we hire a coach, we've got that support and that accountability and a system, which is important. I like organization too, so I'm all about the system, as are you, Alex. I know you are.
I do like a good system.
Yeah, I like a good system.
Part of, I think, too, of my coaching, part of what I think makes it so accessible is that I'm not pretending to, it's not like you follow my 6 steps of la 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 and you too will have, this life or whatever. It's more like, I'm just going to lead you into yourself. And I'm going to be there all the time, whispering over your shoulder, there's nothing wrong with this. You are a human having a human experience. You get to make choices. You get to address what you want, how you want. I'm not saying, oh, let's talk about your sleep. Okay, 9:00 bedtime, Kay. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not dictating what it needs to look like. It's more of an invitation of, do you love how much sleep you get? Do you? And if you do, great. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here trying to change what you don't want to change.
That is unique, and I love it.
Yeah. And I found success with that. People have like it doesn't work for everyone, obviously. That's why there are all sorts of different coaches, right? Some people do want like, no, just please give me your meal plan. And that's great. That can help you. That also, that thing, I will say it right here, that also can help get you through a rough patch. To have someone just showing up and, you know, feeding just whatever the paper says kind of thing. And that maybe that is a way to design a life you love. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Beautiful. Well, how do people get in touch with you? How do they follow you? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, I've got a website and I've got an Instagram. Those are good places to find me.
Wonderful. And we will link those below the
Perfect.
YouTube video. Just for those that are listening, if they want to find you on, how do they find you on Instagram? What is
You
your
bet. It is Soul Fitness Coaching.
Soul Fitness Coaching? I love that
That's
name.
right.
And your website? Same.
Is goaskalex.org.
Goaskalex.org.
That's
Okay.
right.
We'll post
Yep. And then you go there and it says, I want to ask about, and it says the book, and you can go learn about the book, working together. I also sell Beauty Counter. I'm a Beauty Counter advocate because
I
it's,
love Beauty Counter.
oh, I do too. I do too. Because it's super aligned with what I stand for. Transparency, you know, making positive change, clean, it's clean beauty, you know, so I can help you with that. And then coaching. So
Beautiful.
it's all there.
It's all there for a healthy life. Go
It
ask.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, my Instagram is just meant to, you know, it's a one possibility. That's all. It's one possibility. And you can take ideas, maybe it'll inspire you in this way or that way, but it's not meant to be a how-to.
I love it. I love it. Well, Alex, thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your amazing story of resilience and love with all of us. It just is you're a guiding light. And I want to thank you for being in my life. And thank you all for showing up today to see Alex give her story on Authentic Living with Dawn Janice. Stay tuned to make sure that you check out the links below and connect with Alex. We'll see you next time. Bye, Alex.
Pleasure. Such a pleasure. Thank you.